Hello there, and thanks for choosing RTV News. I am Isabel Masozera. This is what we have coming up. The government of Rwanda has made commitment to improve services provided for the local and foreign investors. Also coming up, the Ministry of Trade and Industry is asking the private sector to prepare projects that can compete for the fund availed by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. This is RTV News coming to you live from our studios in Kigali, Rwanda. Now, the government of Rwanda has made a commitment to improve services provided for both local and foreign investors. This was reiterated on Friday as Rwanda Development Board launched the expanded one-stop center office that is said to provide services for investors here in the country. Adams Kwizera has more.
This expanded one-stop center will bring together all the services provided to investors who need various documents, such as licenses and permits. The Chief Executive Officer of Rwanda Development Board, Claire Akamanzi, noted that even though the one-stop center was existing, but did not have that capacity of providing all the services needed by investors.
Today, we're announcing that this expanded one-stop center has started functioning well, and that it is a one-stop center that provides more services than the original one-stop center of RDB was providing. We believe this is probably one of the biggest reforms that our business environment is going to see as we put it in place this year. Today, the one-stop center is hosting about 23 services that were being provided in about 23 institutions of government, and providing between 100 to 200 permits depending on licenses that are renewed every year, but at least 100 permits and licenses that these institutions were giving. Most of those institutions, the 23 institutions, are represented on this side of the table, and we've worked with them to be able to identify their representatives that are currently sitting in the one-stop center. As you've seen in the tour, has expanded to many other, especially regulated sector-specific licenses from different institutions: Rwanda Housing, City of Kigali, FDA, National Land Authority, National Bank of Rwanda, Rwanda Mining Board, RURAM, and then we've added more services from RRM, RICA, Immigration for more services, Rwanda Education High Council, Ministry of Health, etc. I probably won't go through the whole.
RDB also pointed out that this will make Rwanda rise on the World Bank Doing Business reports.
We are standing firm in doing business based on the World Bank ranking, but what we are going to do now is more than what the World Bank requests. We don't know if there is any other country where you can find all the services provided at the same place. This is a big reform, as it will facilitate the business environment at the high level.
One of the new services in this one-stop center, it's a service which will provide entrepreneurs operating in Rwanda to deliver their products to the African market, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Professor Ngabitsinze Jean Chrysostome, noted that there will be other services which will be added later. The African Free Trade Area is new, as the reason why we have a desk here is for providing information, because it also goes with other licenses and various permits, including those from NAIEB, RICA, and those from RRA Customs. Then, all those are here so that everyone could access the permits and license. Generally, our desk will provide information for AFCTA. Another thing I want to add is that this one-stop center will not remain here in RDB as a static. This is dynamic because the country develops. Then we will continue to expand this service, as it's a nice way of building capacity for the country which is developing. As we also appreciate the President of the Republic for emphasizing this. For us, we will keep doing it, as we must. The Private Sector Federation, PSF, appreciates the way the private sector continues to be facilitated in its operations, as the second Vice President of the PSF, Chimenyi Emab, urges the local entrepreneurs to use this opportunity.
Ni ikintu cyiza twe tugize kubonera hamwe serivisi zose za leta
It's a good thing to access all the government services, as they're still doing a research to know if there is any other country which have this kind of service. But for us, it's an amazing thing. Then it should be clear that this is not for the foreign investors only. This is for us, mainly. As when you see, the tax income majority is from local business, from Rwanda. As I want to urge everyone to invest and first pass by here directly. Thank you. At the beginning, this one-stop center, we provide investors with a one-stop experience for services from over 20 government institutions that issue more than 200 licenses, permits, or certificates. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
Thank you, Adams. That is notable progress. Now, moving on, the Ministry of Trade and Industry is asking the private sector to prepare projects that can compete with others from different African countries for the fund that has been availed to increase productivity by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Jessica Agasaro has more.
Rwanda is where the headquarters of the fund responsible for financing projects related to increasing the production of products that can go to the African market is placed. This fund was named the Adjustment Fund and is expected to help the private sector in countries that have signed and ratified this agreement establishing the African Common Market. The chairman of the board of directors of the Bank for Export and Import, Afrimex, Professor Benedict Orama, who will also receive these funds, show that the great benefit of having such fund for the private sector in Africa.
The ceramic tiles that were exported to Cameroon, 20% duty reduction, which means that the importer of that product, of those tiles, is immediately more competitive, or 20% at least more competitive than ceramic tiles coming from a third market outside of the continent. So this, in our view, it was a very successful exercise. We learned a lot from it. And lastly, I would note that there is trade taking place intra-region. Very important successful outcome of the Guided Trade Initiative is that we had products coming from North Africa to another part of the continent, from East Africa to West Africa. So we want to expand that the reach of products and private sector across the continent.
This fund will start with $10 billion. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, who signed the agreement to host the headquarters of this fund, emphasized that it will help to expand investment and innovation, improve the economy of African countries through the flow of products and services on this continent are seamless. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Ngabitsinze Jean Chrysostome, is asking the Rwandan private sector to put effort into preparing practical projects that can compete with other African so that they can get money from banks.
It is challenging and requires a lot of preparation. What I would like to say to Rwandans is the good thing that leaders of the country have done. History shows that Africa has always been the one to receive. It's time to be satisfied in what we do, be it in agriculture, business, industry, so that Africans see that they can have what is important. I call on everyone to understand and prepare so that it will be implemented by people who want it.
It is expected that the meeting of the ministers of countries that finally approved the agreement establishing common market for Africa, which will be held in Rwanda in June this year. This will determine the date when this fund will start providing services to public and private sectors that still need it. So far, 46 of the 55 countries that make up the African continent have ratified the Common Market Agreement on the continent, which is expected to lift up 30 million people out of extreme poverty, and its economy will be at $450 billion in 2035, rising to a rate of 7%. Jessica Agasaro, RTV News.
An opportunity for the private sector to rise to the occasion there. Thank you so much, Jessica. We now move on to more RTV News. The Rwandan Women in Parliament Forum has started the countrywide tour to visit and examine performance and also address the challenges that are being faced by early childhood development centers.
Early Childhood Development Centers, ACDs, are one of the expected ways to combat the child stunting. In the month dedicated to celebration of International Women's Day, the Rwandan women in the Parliament Forum decided to visit these early childhood development homes around the country. After visiting the ACDs in the Nyarugenge district, the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament in the Chamber of Deputies, Honorable Eda Mukabagwiza, highlighted some of the problem.
Tugira ikibazo cyane cyuko hari abana bagira ikibazo cy'imirire hirya no hino mu gihugu ari nayo mpamvu uriya.
One of the issues we meet are most children have nutritional problem, which is why we have to do everything we can do to fight child stunting as a country. When children are together and having someone to take care of them, this helps us fight nutritional problem because they all dine together, and that's a first step because they make sure they eat a balanced meal. Another issue is that the social homes don't have enough equipment, or maybe the caregivers don't have the knowledge. Others don't have enough salaries for them. Those are the issues that I noticed and keeps coming back. Otherwise, we hope that the institution in charge will keep working on it. One of the caregivers helping to take care of the children in one of the ECD's home visited says that there's still a lot needed for their work to go well and to take better care of the children in a healthy way. Handbooks are not enough, but as caregivers, we help each other, which is why we are asking those books that will help children with illustration. We need games for the children so that they will be distracted or have a play day as children. The parliamentarian, Honorable Mussolini Eugene, who represents the disabled in the parliament, returns to what needs to be done so that the children with disabilities are also better cared for in the ACD's home for young children.
Children who are born with mental disabilities, there is still a problem that needs to be known to the institution in charge and change that or find a solution to that. The other challenge, not too many children can be able to take care of them. Even when you find one, it's an exception.
The Deputy District Executive Administrator of Nyarugenge District, Chutiraguma Esperance, confirms that this ACD's home play an important role in taking care of the most vulnerable children and therefore encourages some parents to go to them because they are useful. There are 351 nurseries in Nyarugenge districts, including the one visited today, where children are being cared for are close to 17,000, slightly more than half of them being boys. Jessica Agasaro, RwandaTV News.
Experts say that there are advanced fertilizers and new technology that can detect bad seeds to avoid losses. This is according to the latest findings. Jessica Gassaro continues.
This chain of seed processing is evident from the researcher, seed production and distribution to the community, the problem they face and so on. Some fruit growers say that the lack of knowledge is one of the obstacles in their work. Kamashazi Nora is a fruit grower in Nyagatare and Gatsibo district.
Ibyo rero biterwa nuko hari imbuto ikeneye harimo interval iminsi ugatera ibigabo hagacaho iminsi.
That is because there are some things that are not done properly. So there are the first 3 days of mating with the male, and then there are the days when you fertilize with the female. So there are times when it doesn't go the way it is planned. When you plant the seed and there's no water, so the male seed will not grow for the 3 days. But if you plant the female, they both grow all at once.
Kuko urumva igihe ntago gihuye bijya kubangurira ibigore byararangiye kuba byakwakira ibibangurirano by'ibigabo.
The Director General of Agriculture Modernization in Minagri, Dr. Patrick Karangwa, says that Rwanda is ready to help farmers to get good seeds that produce good yield. However, there are still obstacles that hinder this series in progressing the seeds.
The seed requires knowledge. It is a knowledge-intensive area. It's not for traditional farming practices. It requires that more knowledgeable, these young graduates, for instance, from agriculture colleges, we encourage them to come and go into agriculture production. And the private actors who bring in capital and who can hire these young graduates. The modernization of agriculture is completely different, like day and night with subsistence agriculture.
However, the problem of insufficient knowledge is not the only concern for seed brewers and farmers in general.
And Rwanda encouraged the role of private sector in the seed systems. And Rwandan government also availed finance to stakeholders who want to go into the seed systems. You have, for instance, this project that is going to play even further bigger role in the seed systems modernization. The SEEDET, the commercialization and de-risking for agriculture sector transformation, that is a $300 million US project that is also going to avail finance for entrepreneurs in agriculture systems that can have access to grants. 50% of the cost of your business, you can have it from the government.
Agi Konde, Deputy Director of Innovation Program at AGRA, says that the use of technology will be a solution to fraudulent seed growers.
The solution for fake seed is the right regulation. How do you ensure that everybody who is putting seed in the market is licensed? How can you ensure that there is traceability on the seed that is being sold to a farmer, so that if I buy that seed and it is fake, you as the person who sold it to me take the liability? So right now we are having very nice technologies that can be able to create that traceability. So you de-risk, you take away that risk from the smallholder farmer. So it's no longer now the farmer to absorb that risk. Now technology can be able to tell us where this one came from.
5 years ago, Rwanda set itself to the goal of growing its own seed instead of importing them from abroad. There are also a goal to make Rwanda a home of high-quality seeds so that everyone who wants the best seed will definitely come to Rwanda. RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Jessica. During Women's Month, Access Bank Rwanda, in collaboration with Rwanda Biomedical Center, using its Cancer Prevention and Treatment Department, examined Access Bank employees, their customers, as well as other people. The bank also organized an exhibition. Adams Kwizera brings us this report.
This event, which was designed to help women to get diagnosed with breast cancer, in order to facilitate them to know their life status.
Getting diagnosed cervical cancer, it's a good thing, as it helps to know my life status and also get some advice on how we can prevent it. After getting diagnosed, you immediately know how you are. When you find yourself positive, then you get advice by doctors on how you have to get treated through it.
The Chief Executive Officer of Access Bank, Pros Kalisa, expressed the reason behind this breast cancer screening campaign.
So yesterday we had a breast screening exercise or experience or an activity that we had with women. Women, they didn't have to be our clients, they didn't have to be our friends, but we invited everyone in all spheres. This particular Women Month, which is the month of March, where we are bringing access to market, where our women products or services that they produce or that they sell are being brought to the market, closer to their clients.
On the other hand, Rwanda Biomedical Center RBC also noted that breast cancer is a serious concern based on the figures which are released every year.
When you
review on the statistics from RBC, you find that every year we admit about 650 patients suffering the breast cancer. It's a cancer which is very easy to diagnose and very easy to treat. That's why we put much efforts in diagnosing residents, hence to provide them appropriate support. The Rwanda Biomedical Center also advises men and women in general to always go for checkups at their nearby health centers. Adams Kwizera, RTV News.
Moving on, NCBA Bank Rwanda branch says it is determined to improve the livelihood of Rwandans who are ready to work with it. Take a look.
This was announced during the opening of the NCBA branch in Musanze district, which became the 5th branch opened in Rwanda, as their new customers expressed their excitement. For them, they came to look for customers. It's not you who go to look for them. They really support you when you come to them and provide fast service to their customers as well. I requested a loan in the end of 2022 and I received it. Plus to that, they are going to give me another loan to complete this Virunga hotel. Ambassador Munyakazijuru Antoine, who is in the board of directors of NCBA, urged Musanze residents to join this bank as he pledged their support in the development journey of these residents. Musanze residents have to join us. They have to come to us for our services, as we help them to boost their business and develop them as well. NCBA provides various services dedicated to the development of the citizens, as Christian Dingida, who is in charge of NCBA bank operations, notes. The traders need to buy vehicles for the transportation of their products or that kind of loan, which you provide them within 48 hours. The mayor of Musanze district, Damori Janvier, noted that the arrival of NCBA Bank in Musanze is an opportunity for the development of this district. Like for us, we want to increase more financial opportunities, which would help us in the journey of development as well, but particularly the development of this city. NCBA has more than 3 million customers in Rwanda, whereas in the last year of 2022, it provided about 87 billion Rwandan francs of loans to its customers. Adam Skuzera, RTV News.
People who live and work in crowded places are trained to use fire extinguishing equipment designed to help them in case of a fire. We have more in this report. Modern buildings and public places across Kigali city and various parts of the country have fire extinguishing equipment and a first aid kit tucked away in case of a fire. Some of the employees demonstrated their knowledge of this equipment.
We know the basics regarding fire extinguishers, exit signs, and smoke detectors, but some employees are not well informed.
In some places, employees have been trained on how to use this equipment, while in other places, they have not been trained, but they are eager to learn so that in case of an emergency, they are not helpless.
I don't know how to use the equipment because I haven't been trained and yet I need it in case of a fire.
The deputy spokesperson of Rwanda National Police says that the police is aware and they're working towards finding a solution to ensure trainings are done in different parts of the country.
Since January 1st, 2023, we have conducted 43 trainings in various public and private institutions, including markets, hospitals, among others. Overall, we have interfaced with more than 5,700, but there are still people in the whole country that are yet to be helped. In the National Police Program, we continue to onboard the police department tasked with fire-related cases. Every province has vehicles and basic equipment that they use to rescue people in case fire. The people should also know the basic security equipment available in the building to contain the fire before the help arrives, because it has to be done by the people themselves.
Since the beginning of 2023, there have been 63 fires in Rwanda. That's it from me today. I am Isabel Masozera on behalf of the entire RBA team that made this happen. Thanks for watching and keep it RTV.